No. Oh, you're right. Wondering why I have a slick back hair.
Yes, why, Tom?
Because I just jumped in the pool, the freezing cold pool.
Yeah, you did.
I'm a,
Look at you being, you know what? Maybe 2021 is going to be a year of health. Who cares what else is going on in the world with the rowing and the jumping in the cold pool? Those are two big things that will change your health overall.
I tell you, I last year, April, May, as I stopped playing basketball along with the
Yeah.
rest of the world, I was going into a little bit of a gray funk and kind
Yeah.
of low energy thing that lasted almost the whole summer. Or, I just want to
Sure.
nap and take it easy. It's
Yeah.
the old energy in, energy out deal. I've been
Yeah.
rowing now for about a month and a half. It's like, oh yeah, it is 10 minutes a day. 10
That's pretty
fucking
great.
minutes. It's
That's
nothing.
pretty great. I love it. I love it. I
How's your
still
walking? Have you gone 3 hours yet?
no, yesterday I did 2 hours, and it's funny because obviously once you acclimate, I do a thing where I put on a movie or something and I try not to look at the time until I feel like, I wonder if it's about time, right? So, and I'm not good like you are with numbers and time. And so I recognize now I don't really start feeling at the beginning. It took me not that long before I was sweating and tired. And now I can definitely go 145 before I go, oh, what time is it? Which is great
Really?
for me
And it's
because
just it's just a walking pace, right? You're just walking.
yeah, I have it on a 4, whatever that means, which is a brisk walk, right? It's faster than I would probably walk in real life, but it's brisk, so it feels like I'm doing something. You
Like
know what I mean?
15 miles for 1 hour, 15 minutes for a mile.
Yeah, you're saying stuff I don't know.
Okay, sorry.
I don't
I mean,
know,
that'd
but
be a brisk pace. If you could do four miles in an hour, that would be a
I'll
brisk
see if
pace.
I can figure that out. But I'm enjoying it,
Doesn't
and I'm
matter.
enjoying feeling better. And that's really what I was trying to do is feel better. I definitely got myself in a psychological slump because I just was eating zebra cakes and going another day. you know? So it's nice to have something to look forward to, and then knowing that when I get off that treadmill, I'm going to feel good. And I just needed that psychology, you
It's
know?
great. People are nuts. I mean, we've all been there where we've exercised and then we've not exercised.
Yeah.
And then the exercise, you're going, why did I stop exercising? This gets my endorphins going and my body feels more energized. But we
Yeah.
all do it. We've all been on that cycle.
Yeah.
Sometimes you go
Yeah.
years without exercising.
I know. Well, I think also being in the pandemic put my head in a different space, right? Because every day was like, what? And then I definitely got caught into the tornado of fighting with anti-Trumpers, which was a very bad thing to do. And that was exhausting. And so I feel like I was putting all my energy into being angry, right?
Yes, it's horrible.
And it's horrible, but I got it out of my system. And now it's just nice to have stuff to look forward to and to feel like, you know what, at least at the end of the day, I feel better. My weight has really
I
not,
told.
yeah, it really has plateaued. But the other thing is I am eating healthy and I'm craving less sugar, which is so great. I'm a sugar addict. I know that. I mean, one of my jokes a million years ago when I did stand up was, I don't care. I love sugar. I'll just be a stump, take my arms and legs. It doesn't matter because I like sugar so much. But I find I'm not craving it for whatever odd reason.
Huh.
Maybe my body's like, hey, this feels good. So yeah, everybody be like me.
Do what I'm doing.
Do what I'm
There's
doing.
nothing worse. There's a comedian that I know who's down in Sarasota.
Yeah.
He was almost 300 pounds
Okay.
and he's lost 100 pounds.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's
but
amazing.
that's all he wants to talk about. I go, okay,
Yeah.
is there anything else going on? And then he does
Yeah.
talk about Trump a little bit. That's about, I
Yeah.
go, tell me about your weight loss again.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm trying to rise above that. So
So I gave Patrick I'm on TikTok. I'm
oh,
addicted to TikTok. And I
okay.
saw this, huh?
No, I said okay.
And I saw this guy, he had a recipe taking what is little lettuce cabbage heads called?
Oh, you're asking me. I love that you're asking me
Come on,
that.
they're little cabbage heads. You just cauliflower? No, there's cauliflower's part of it.
Oh, Brussels sprouts?
Brussels, look at you. So you
Look
knew.
at me knowing kitchen stuff.
Look at you. So guys chopping up Brussels sprouts, chopping up cauliflower, chopping up broccoli,
Yes.
and he's baking it, and then he chops up sweet potatoes, bakes it, and then he combines it all with quinoa, and he goes, this fires you up like nobody's business. He goes, I
Ooh,
eat this every lunch every day.
wow. It does sound good
So I
though.
gave it to Patrick. Patrick's almost making the same thing anyway.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, what does Patrick, besides cooking and chopping in the kitchen, what
Male
are his
modeling.
what are his hobbies? He loves cooking so much. What did he do before he's cooked all the time?
You should hear him play the guitar. I'm sure he doesn't think he's, getting better and better and better.
Uh,
The son of a bitch is playing lead
Aw,
guitar like a madman. I
nice.
just jump in the pool to make him feel bad because that's something he won't
Yes.
do. So this is
Yes.
my way of getting back at him. The
You are
way
people always win, always.
no, but he's playing lead guitar. The band was playing yesterday. They sound awesome.
Oh,
They've
I'm
got
so
a
glad.
21-year-old girl who sings like a bird, plays the
Nice.
guitar, plays the bass, and also
Oh,
plays the keyboard. Like, fuck.
wow. And I'm so impressed with musical people. I've tried. I just don't, that's not my gift. I'm just not gifted in that area.
I'm jealous. I need to work on it. I could play a little bit. They've
Yeah.
invited me to play. The drummer doesn't know I play his drums when he's not there.
No, I love it. I love it. So today's Monday. We've had a lot of guests lately. Today's you and I. So I'm very curious to know.
Our numbers should just plummet.
Our-
Our viewing numbers will be
just
down
you
to
and I.
6.
People are tired of just you and I.
It'll be me, you, and that angry gal you keep on poking with a stick.
Yeah, sometimes I poke. I feel like in my senior years, I've really calmed down, but every once in a while I get a fire and I'm just like,
Haven't
poke, poke.
Haven't you ever heard the idea you write that angry letter and you just throw it away? You write that angry tweet, you just dump it.
Yes, but that's not mean. And poking is mean. And sometimes I'm mean. Sometimes I'm mean. I'm not perfect. I told you that saying I saw.
What? Please don't sell yourself short.
That Michelle Obama phrase, when they go low, we go high. And then someone posted, when they go low, I go medium because God's still working on me. I resonated with that. I'm like, yeah, that's right. A ways to go. So yeah, I'll poke. Yeah, so tell me what you got. I got a couple of things I think are interesting.
Dollar store, math and magic assumptions.
Oh, I like all of those. Okay. All right. I have, how old is too old? DT,
Wow.
Alexa, and Unsolved Mysteries.
Unsolved Mysteries?
Yeah.
Oh, I like those too.
Yes. So I want to hear about the math and magic because math is me and I love magic.
This is going to get you depressed.
Oh, great. I'm glad I picked the right one.
So I'm listening to a new podcast called Math and Magic.
Okay.
Right. And essentially it's super successful people that are nose to the grindstone, went to a lot of college, took a lot of chances, doing fabulous things. And so I listen to this and I get depressed. I mean, the one guy made a killing in commodities, trading commodities.
Okay.
And he's since he's banked $1 zillion, his goal is to solve poverty in New York. He's sponsoring kids, he's sponsoring schools and scholarships, and he's gathering his other old white guys together to try to, they've given away or collected $1 billion over the last 10 years. It's like the Robin Hood Project. I think it's Robin Hood Project in New York.
Okay, I'll look that up. I love stuff like that.
So quite amazing. And they're also like, okay, old white guys have been running this place for long enough. Let's make sure we get women, people of color, everybody. They're encouraging their friends and comrades in big business to, let's make this thing, look more like the country, spread the wealth.
So when you say they're bringing them in and teaching them how to.
Well, I mean, they're encouraging. You understand that if you don't have a grammar school education, you're going to make no money the rest of your life. If your education is a high school, you're going to make 28 grand, 33 grand. You're not going to college gets you to $50,000-$60,000. So their big push is get kids educated, keep them in school. You go back and you find the fourth graders, fifth graders, and before they drift away. Let's get them on the funnel. Get somebody stands up and says, "Hey, you make it through high school, I'll pay your college."
Yeah, that's nice.
You know, stuff like that.
Oh, I
So,
love that. That's so interesting that you're talking about that, because yesterday when I was on the treadmill, I chose to watch the show that they made about the college admission scandal. Remember when all that was going on with the celebrities that were paying? I really recommend that you watch. It's on Netflix, and
oh,
yeah, it's not on one of my fancy sidebar channels. But here's what's so fascinating about it. They took the actual transcripts from the phone taps that they did with the FBI. And so they took their words and they say at the beginning, these are actual conversations that we're putting into this film, because they made it like a docudrama, but they had actors play the parts and it was done very well, right? So when you hear the conversations, it's kind of mind blowing. In between the scenes, they have people from real life that are
really?
like college admissions people, or people that work for the FBI, kind of breaking things down and saying, what's fascinating about this case is that these parents had all the advantages, had all the money. Their kids could have easily have gotten into any college, but the parents decided they wanted this one college. And even with all of their advantage, they were still willing to cheat to get their kid in. And the kids did not know. The kids did not know. And that was heartbreaking too, because some of these parents were really saying, well, this one's my smart one, and it was just terrible, terrible to hear that. But I thought it
Wow,
was,
you shouldn't do that.
well, of course not.
I
But
mean, I'm saying they shouldn't publish that.
but it was part of the transcript of how
I
they,
understand that, but it's
the
horrible.
FBI doesn't care if they're going to hurt some kids'
Some
feelings.
14-year-old is now damaged because their mom said the
Yeah,
16-year-old
well,
was my smart one.
and I think it was part of a bigger picture of
I know.
trying to break down this broken system of
I
what
get it.
they
I'm
what they were
against
saying.
I'm against people putting pictures of their kids crying. They're look at my 4-year-old crying on Facebook. No, you can't put that shit on there.
No, I agree. I agree with you on that. But what they were saying, Tom, is that going to college isn't the same as it used to be. Like when you and I went to college, it kind of meant something. But they're saying now it's the system is so broken that there's a lot of people going to college that don't belong there, that have cheated their way in, and so they're not coming out any better because they're, you know what I mean, they're not qualified to be there.
Yeah,
And they're saying because with social media, a lot of people are able to make money without going to college. So now there's a disparity between college and actually being educated. And what you're talking about is, yeah, we need to be educated. So how are we going to educate these kids in a system that actually works for the masses, right? Not just the rich white people that live in this world, but the kids that don't have the same social what's the word I'm looking for? The same social abilities that, like, let's say someone that has wealth that's able to travel. Let's go to Spain and learn Spanish from someone that
of
lives in the same
course.
apartment complex, right? So I thought it was just a fascinating journey on how narrow our education system is, and how, because they were saying people will openly give $5 million to name a building, but it's still no guarantee your kid's going to get in.
I probably will.
Well, they're saying you used to be able to get your kid in for 1 to 2 mil. If you don't give them 10, they'll just look at you. It doesn't mean you're getting in.
Wow. What's the name of this show?
It's called the college admissions scandal, and it's on Netflix.
That's a very hard to figure out what exactly you're looking
Well,
at title.
the good news about that is it's going to be, when you Google what was the name of that college admission show, you're going to find it on Netflix.
I've misspelled college, I've misspelled admission, and I've misspelled scandal. There you go.
But yeah, so I think that's fascinating. And I think it's fascinating you're talking about investing in money and stuff, because I this morning downloaded an app I was going to share with you called Public. And it's an app that people with money are saying that will teach you how to invest small amounts of money into growing, like Apple and Amazon, where you don't have to have thousands of dollars. You can start small, and it's an app that teaches you how to invest starting small. And I was like, I got to do more of that, because I don't have the aptitude to know how to invest,
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, speaking of Robinhood, isn't that another app for investing?
That's what I heard that Robinhood is. Yeah. Yeah. So look at us being money managers.
I manage your money. Excellent.
Excuse me. Excuse me, please. So did any of my topics sound interesting to you at all?
Yes, they did. One more time, please.
I don't know which ones I told you now because I have so many
You
on
had
here. I
four.
narrowed it down. How old is too old?
Let's do,
DT, Alexa, Unsolved Mysteries.
let's do how old is too old.
I
My
wrote
name
this
may
one a
come up.
while ago. So I started looking up how old is the oldest person in the world, and then we already talked about the blue zone and all that. But do you know right now today who is the oldest? Let's not say who. What city the oldest person in the world lives in, and what their age is.
Okinawa, 118 years old. I was just talking to that guy on a Zoom the other day.
That's really good. According to the information I have, there is a woman in Japan that's 117, but there's also a woman in France who's 122.
Wow.
Right?
Yes. I was not far off with my
No,
Okinawa.
you're very good with your numbers. In the United States, do you want to guess the age and the
Location?
geography? Where
Gosh,
do you think?
that would be an interesting question. Is it some well-preserved woman in California, some New York socialite, injecting this and blood transfusing that,
Right.
or is it somebody from a red state just corn cob and drinking booze, and she's 107 years old sitting in a chair somewhere
Right.
in Appalachia?
Yes. No,
I will say,
go for it.
is it one of those three?
Yes. Yes, it is.
I'm gonna say I want to say Appalachia. I'm gonna say Northern California.
You want to guess the age?
109.
Okay, you're pretty good on the guessing game. So this person is a female. She's living in Charlotte, North Carolina. I know you wanted to call it, and you did it. You wanted to.
Well, Charlotte.
She is either 115 or 116. It's a little hazy on the numbers. They're not, there's a lot of controversy. She, until the age of 108, she had never even been to a hospital once until the age of 108. Now, according to what they're saying, or what she says, is that it's never too late, she said, to change your habits, and she tries to stay away from sugar, and she believes the rest is just good living.
And did she talk to Lincoln herself?
Don't you love it though, in Charlotte, North Carolina?
So, well, Charlotte's a fancy city now.
Yes,
I mean,
it can be fancy, but she is a very country, simple, no fancy injections or anything. She's
of course
living her life.
Right. So she was born in 1904 or something like that.
Well, you
I've
tell
done the
me.
math.
I'm not going to do the math on that.
So that's before cars were common. It's certainly before the airplane. That's before World War I and World War II. She saw a lot.
She's seen a lot, right? And she, according to the story I read, she's still pretty happy, pretty peaceful. I think that's a secret to long life.
It's funny. I think didn't we talk about blue zones or long life or something before?
We did.
And I forgot to pass along a little interesting story.
Oh, yes.
So I'm going to have the details are going to be fuzzy, but the gist of the story is going to be correct. Okay. There's a spot like on the Mediterranean, right, in France, and these apartments are highly prized.
Okay.
Right. So much so that people will buy them before the owners die.
Oh.
Well, and then once the owner dies, then you get the apartment. So there's one famously, the woman was 83 and the guy's 42, and buys her apartment for, $10 million or whatever the number is.
Okay.
A significant,
Yes.
maybe it wasn't 10 million. Let's call it $1 million.
Okay.
Anyway, she turns out to be the longest living person in France.
Yeah.
And he croaks well before she does.
No. Oh, you know what? I love the risk takers though. I love that he tried.
He tried.
Wow. I'll have to look this up. So this is a small area in the Mediterranean that's kind of exclusive, I take it.
I think if you type, do put in the details, you're going to come up with a story.
Okay. Do you have in the back of your mind, like I know you live in Florida, are you thinking in the back of your mind, this is where you'll spend your end of days? Or do you have a location where you think, you know what?
I think,
to a certain
I
point.
think I'm going to be here in the winter and somewhere else in the summer.
Okay. That's a wise choice. What do they call that?
Well, they call it snowbirds.
Why do they call it snowbirds? Do you know where that originated?
Well, birds go south for the winter.
No, but I mean, it has such a negative connotation when you're like, oh, you're a snowbird, which I don't think it should. It's a brilliant way to live.
That's jealous people saying, oh,
Okay.
you're a snowbird.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant way to live.
Absolutely. Why fight all the nonsense up north if you can escape and come to a little condo by a beach and you change your location, change your attitude? Why not?
Right. So where do you want to live in the summer?
I think summer's not going to be Chicago, New York. It's going to be more northeast, I think.
Okay.
I like Idaho. I like Washington, Oregon, Northern California. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. No, those are great places.
Canada.
Oh, Canada. Yeah.
Are you going to start singing?
I don't know the song.
Oh, Canada. Blah, 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 blah.
Canadian people are super nice, and I love the way they talk. I think it's adorable. I love how nice Canadians are.
So, who knows? Maybe it's you know where I'd like to go?
Where?
They just came out with the nicest places to live in the world, or the friendliest places. It's all Finland, Iceland, Norway, blah, blah, blah. Yep.
Not surprised. Did you hear that a volcano exploded in Iceland? It's been dormant for, like, they say 6,000 years. I'm sure they're basing it on all the geology stuff that they do, but the closest town is 6 miles away, and they said so far they're not evacuating because it seems like it's going to stay in the area. But it's just another kind of like, how about that, Earth?
So we're not all settled in, are we?
Stuff is still going on that's, big time. And we don't always hear these stories, right? And I feel like even though it's in Iceland, it affects us overall. We should always pay attention to weather all around the world.
Of course. That reminds me of that joke about the woman giving a tour in the New York Museum of History.
Okay.
And she's at the T-Rex. She goes, and this is 72 million years and 72 million and 3 years old, this particular dinosaur. That guy goes, that's pretty specific. How do you know that? Well, I've been working here for 3 years, and it was 73 million years old when I started working.
That's pretty good. That's pretty. When I first moved here, I applied to be a tour guide at the museums, and they did not want me. I tried, and they kept saying no. And then they were finally like, okay, you can quit calling now. We have your application. Because I thought I'd be the best tour guide. I love New York. I could learn things, but whatever I had, they did not want. I was super sad about it. That would have been a fun job, right?
You think those jobs go to minorities? What's the problem? What's the deal?
Maybe I got the impression they go more to people with in-depth backgrounds.
So like somebody with a history major, master's degree. I like that. Yes.
I like that too, but I still wanted to try because I thought I would be super fun. I could always study.
I used to give tours at the Dali Museum.
You know what? Because of that, maybe I'll end up just giving tours in Hawaii. I can just go and just talk about the islands.
Huh. You're a native.
Little old white lady. That's what everybody wants when they go to Hawaii. Let's have this little old white lady tell me about the history of Hawaii. How enthralling. I'm so impressed.
Well, you're a native, right?
Well, I wouldn't be considered a native because I only grew up there. I didn't, I wasn't born there, and I didn't spend my entire life there. But
the story you tell makes everyone think that you were born there.
Sorry?
The story you tell makes people think you were born there.
People are going to believe what they're going to believe, Tom. I can't control that.
Tell
So, okay, so your other topic, you had something that seemed a little
them. Dollar store assumptions.
assumptions. I like that. What's with the assumptions?
It's interesting how people project on you, or I project on you, or whatever. It was funny also with that Math and Magic, the guy was talking about it's important to go to Burning Man because all these guys, philanthropists and all these guys, going to Burning Man is like, if you have that on your application, it's a plus. It's like, it's an indication that you're open-minded. You're not closed in this little box. You're open-minded for experiences, people doing what they want to do. It wasn't just like, let's get rip roaring crazy. No, we're going to go and just experience. That's what Burning Man's more about, is about being creative and experiencing different ideas.
I love that. Christy and I have been talking about Burning Man. It's been one of those things that's been on my list forever, and I've never been able to make it work because you really have to have a certain level of expertise and go with people that have been, because you can't just show up at Burning Man. You have to pay a large fee and you have to kind of survive out there.
You're going to wear a mask, a lot of sandstorms and stuff like that.
Yeah, and you have to be very comfortable with your nudity, and I want to experience it. I do want to go to Burning Man, and I don't think I'm too old to go. So it is on my list of things. I've been talking to some people. Oh man, I would love to go to Burning Man.
What do you think it costs to go?
It's thousands. You pay, like, there's lists, right? People have certain areas that they pay for because each area means something, like, oh, if you like this, you stay here. So there's all these sections.
Huh.
And so this is what I know from the people. I know 3 people that have gone, and they're all in different areas, and they all pretty much say the same thing. You have to pay in advance. There's a lottery, and it's not just to pay to be there and pay for the ticket. You also have to have all your own food, all your own water. You know what I mean? Like, and then the stuff you need to bring to, like, survive for that period of time, plus your art and all that. So I know people that keep storage sheds in California that keep all their Burning Man stuff in there. They fly to California, get their trailer and stuff, hook up everything there, and then drive. Yeah, which is so smart. So
Yeah.
I definitely would like to go. Would you?
I think I'd like to try it. Why wouldn't you want to try that? I think that'd be,
I think a lot of people are scared of Burning Man because, in the media it's promoted as this insane thing when actually it's really not. It's more about freedom. It's not about chaos, really. It's about freedom, which is very different.
So my morning routine, which I'm sure everybody's very interested in.
Yes, tell us.
Is I walk when I was living here with Patrick for the first couple of weeks, I realized, oh my gosh, I haven't been out of the house in 2 days, 3 days,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
And then when I lived at the ranch, I was out all the time,
Yeah.
tending animals, walking here, walking the dog.
Right.
So I said, you know what you're gonna do? You're gonna walk every day. Get out, walk 1.5 miles, walk to the end of the block, walk back. So the neighbor sees me. So I've been doing this for a month. The neighbor pulls over, and I know her. I met her. She's very nice, and her husband. So she pulls over while I'm walking. She goes, how's it going? I go, great. She goes, are you depressed? What? Because you're out here all the time. Are you like an alcoholic or something? You drink a lot?
Not. She said that? Are you an alcoholic?
That was maybe the second question after I said I wasn't depressed.
Why would someone think if someone's walking that they're depressed?
Because she's projecting on me what she thinks why people walk.
Wow. Did you school her?
I wasn't schooling anybody. I just had the conversation about, I talked about how I used to walk a lot back in the old days, and I realized I wasn't getting out of the house, and I got to get my steps in, and no, I'm not running from some, things in my brain, which
I would never consider someone out walking is an alcoholic. And then even if I did, I don't know that I would ask that question.
This is the gal on the dating apps. She tells it like it is.
Oh, okay. Well, as long as you tell it like it is, that's classy. Good for you.
Yeah. But it was interesting that she had those thoughts, and whatever. This goes back to the 4 agreements, right?
Yes.
You can't control what someone else is thinking.
No, you're right. It's just fascinating to me. Yes, I've been talking a lot to my niece about the lens that we see things through, right? Where just like what you're saying, where there are things that would maybe bother me that wouldn't bother you because you haven't had that experience, or that, has never been a problem for you. I guess for me with this lady is it's just fascinating to me that you're out doing something healthy and that she would ask you a question, making it a negative experience, right?
Right, like I'm running from demons or something. I'm on a
Yeah.
program. I did got to get a house. I'm stressed, or I'm,
Yeah.
anxious or something.
And she asked that with a straight face. She wasn't laughing or.
No, and it's like the fifth time we've talked, so it wasn't like she's a complete stranger. She lives next
Yeah.
door. We've had interactions, and I understand she's seen how brash I am. So I've made nude jokes. I said, yeah, we got a wall around here. We'll be doing nude volleyball here soon, and so
Right.
she understands that I'm loose, and I'm up
Okay.
for any nonsense. So she
Okay.
probably, maybe she said it with a little bit of mischief in her eye, but there was a little bit of an inquiry to my mental state.
And I don't even know that that's associated. Have you ever heard, oh, you know what alcoholics do? They walk a lot. Is that a thing?
Well, it's interesting because I think maybe she's projecting on herself that, oh, if I would had a drinking problem, this would be a way I'd be walking away from my booze and I can't take it with me. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel bad for anybody that has those demons. I'm fortunate I don't.
Yeah.
But it was interesting that she had these projections going.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a friend when I lived in Florida many years ago, when I first moved there, became very good friends with someone, and she was an alcoholic, and she tried to explain it to me. And she said, it's like an obsession that never leaves your mind. She said, no matter what I'm doing or what I'm thinking, I just think, oh, if I could just have one drink.
I mean, how difficult would that be? I mean, if somebody
Very.
told me you can't have ice cream anymore for the rest of your life, it's like,
Yeah.
that's all I'd be fucking thinking about was ice cream.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh
So,
no,
yeah.
it's hard. My brother was an alcoholic,
Okay.
but sober, like, you know, 30 years. He went to a meeting almost every night.
Yeah.
It was
Well,
crazy.
apparently that works, because that seems to be the thing I always hear. People that are alcoholics, they stay in touch and go to the meetings and talk about it and do all the things. But yeah, it's
I got
fascinating.
one of my opening jokes from him.
Your brother?
Yeah, well, he said, I've been, sober for 25 years. And I said, well, not in a row. So that was my opening line then when I start the show.
That is good. I like that. That's got to get a laugh every time, right?
Every time, because I love the longer you wait. You know what? I don't wait long anymore. It's like, hey, I'm surprised I'm working tonight. I'm actually celebrating 7 years sober. And so they usually, if they don't clap, usually the people clap, but I don't wait long. I don't make them wait long for the punchline, because then because then you're an asshole.
Right.
So, but not in a row. It was a punchline, and then they laugh at that.
That is pretty good. I like that one. Yeah. So the assumptions, have you ever caught yourself in a position where you had a conversation, you had assumed something, and then you kind of had to take a step back and go, oh.
I'm sure I have. Absolutely. I can't think of an instance right now, but it's the old, you never know.
I feel like I know I definitely do that. I think because of my history and the stuff I've gone through in my life, I've become more of a, like, oh, really? And I've had to teach myself to not assume that everybody wants to fight with me.
Right.
That not everybody wants to put me in my place, because I spent many years being put in my place. So the minute I think someone's trying to put me in a corner, oh yeah,
I agree. I think that's, and since it's not my world, but I think women can be like that with men, because they'll assume that you're being aggressive or you're being sexual when you may not be.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So I try to be more cognizant of it, but I know it is my weakness to jump up to defend something, or other people, man. You try to take someone else down, I'll probably die for that person. I just have this thing about, I think because for so many years I was put in a really bad
Absolutely.
position. I know what it feels like, right? So if I feel like someone can't defend themselves, I really do put myself at risk a lot. And I'm not saying it's a good thing. It's something I'm trying to work on because everybody has to learn to do their own thing, right? Maybe that's not good for them for me to, that's their journey. That's not really
Right.
mine. But
But it's nice to know that you've got somebody in somebody in your corner if someone's being aggressive towards a lesser person or a weaker person.
yes. And I mean, I've often joked about this. Like when I die, it'll probably be trying to fight somebody, like I'm going to jump in the wrong damn time because I think, I think I've got it in me to fight the fight, but it's just that fire inside of you. I think when you go through certain things in life, you kind of develop this safety mechanism of like, this will never happen to me again. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like I will stop this from ever happening again.
So assumption is different than profiling, though,
Yes, I
because
agree.
I think you profile constantly, which is similar to assumption, I think.
Well, I mean, we could look up the definitions. I feel like what you're saying, well, do you hear the traffic outside my window? The weather's nice, guys. It's going to get louder and louder. I'm thinking about maybe getting some kind of soundproofing for my window because I mean, I live in Brooklyn. It's not going to get quiet as the weather warms up, man. People are feeling the feelings right now. We're up to 50% at the restaurants. More and more things are opening up. And so, we've had a long winter. People are
Did you,
getting excited.
are you getting the shot yet? Have you signed up?
I haven't gotten it yet, but I will. I hope that I get. I don't know why I'm leaning towards Moderna. I recognize you don't know till you get there, kind of a scenario. But I'm waiting for the drive-through. They're setting up the drive-through, so you just pull up in your car, and that's
The
my
big back
dream.
and a shot.
That's my dream is to sit in the car and go like this and be on my way. So not
Yeah.
yet, but
I mean, what's happening in New York? We just lowered it to 50 today.
when you say lowered.
Yeah, it was 65, 60, and they jumped it all the way to
Oh,
50.
the age. Yes, the age. You know what? I don't know that we've lowered it to 50. I know the last I heard was 60, but it could be different today. I get so distracted by the Cuomo sexual allegations that I miss because Cuomo's really trying hard to go, there's a new variant, look over here. And, everybody's like, well,
Well, it's interesting because there is a timeline where people will be excited about an issue, and then it's like, okay, can we just move on with something? So he's trying to get through that peak and trying to,
yes.
okay, because
And I
people only
get
have
it.
so much energy for something. He's
I get
waiting for he's waiting for. Did you just hear that Iceland just had a volcano?
I know, right? I mean, we're easily distracted. I mean, the only thing that's working against people getting busted right now is that because of COVID, we're all paying more attention. If we weren't here for COVID, a lot of these things would have been lost along the way. We don't have time for how our world works. we're, we're just trying to participate a little bit in life, you know?
Amen.
So I do want to ask you an interesting question that as we were speaking, this kind of came up to me. So, speaking about things coming to the surface and people paying attention, a lot of these Hollywood stories are coming out now about. We all know about Weinstein and the things that have occurred. Where in the past, he clearly had done this for a long time, but people didn't feel comfortable or safe saying anything. But once it came to the surface, then more people were like, "This happened, that happened." The same with like Bill Cosby went on for a long time. People didn't feel safe. So now more women are writing stories about their experiences in Hollywood. I read Demi Moore's autobiography, which I feel like I shared. If you like autobiographies, it's a fascinating one because she does talk about how she was always portrayed in the media as like a hardcore bitch. Like she was so mean and such a bitch because she wanted more money. And the truth of the matter is, she was getting paid a lot less, but anytime she would ask for money, they were like, "Oh, give me more, Demi Moore." It became like a thing to keep her down, right? Now, Sharon Stone has a book coming out. It's going to be fascinating. Do you want to guess, Tom? Well, let me ask you this. When I say Sharon Stone, what do you think of?
Well, she's had an amazing career, 20 years in the business.
She's like my age.
Yeah.
So if you think she's been in the business 20 years, that means she only really got known until she was in her 40s, right?
Well, I think the last 10, she hasn't done a lot of movies. So I'd say her career was between 30 and 50.
And when you think of her, is there anything in particular, Sharon Stone? What do you think, Sharon Stone? What comes to mind?
Okay, well, you've got the famous scene where she's being grilled as a suspect in a movie where she crosses her legs, and then
Right.
she's also been in the Arnold Schwarzenegger Martian movie.
Forgot about that.
That's one of my favorites. She was great in that.
Yeah.
And then she was in Casino, right?
Yes, yes, she was. That was very good. Um, Part of the excerpt that I read, she had an article in Vanity Fair, which I subscribe to Vanity Fair. I love it so much. Um, she talks about how she was portrayed in the media versus the truth of what was really going on. And check this out. In Basic Instinct, which is the film you were referring to, in Basic Instinct, she fought really hard for that role. They didn't want her for the role. She had done 18 movies before she got to Basic Instinct, but they were all like, she was making a living, but they're all, you knew her name, but you didn't really know much about her. Michael Douglas was in Basic Instinct. He did not want her in that film. So they went through 12 other actresses and it just was falling apart. 12. She was number 13. They agreed to give her a reading. She fought really hard for it. So she got the part. So knowing that background is important because she fought really hard for it, right? When she's doing this scene where she's being grilled by these detectives, she's setting up on a stage, has her legs crossed, right? During the filming of this movie, remember, she had no real authority. She was thought of, yeah, you're the 13th one. She was also told she wasn't that sexy or attractive. And she's never really made any money. So they were like, look, lady, just do your part, right? During that scene, when they did it, she had white underwear on. And the director came out and said, listen, we're getting a glare, which white, we know from doing television, white will flare up. He said, we're getting a glare. What I'm going to ask you to do is slip those off and just do a fast cross. We're not going to film it, but we're going to give the illusion. So of course she's panicking. And if I've been a female on set where they've asked things and you get scared because you don't want to be the prima donna. When things feel bad, but you're also in that pressure of like, money, everybody's getting paid here. Come on now, lights, camera, action. So she says, so here's how it's going to go, right? If I take it off, I'm going to cross my legs. This is not the focal point. Absolutely not. The director says, you have my word. It's not going to be about that. We're going to give the illusion of that because the white glare is happening. Well, we all know what happened. So when they do the screening of this film, she doesn't know that that's what's occurred. And I think, from being in front of a camera, you don't always know what happens, what they capture, right? Normally when you go to the screening, she said they have all the people in the film and it's a closed set because it's people that have participated, the cameraman, whatever, they watch the screening. She said at this particular screening, she was curious to see attorneys and other people that weren't affiliated with the film sitting in on the screening. And she thought, well, that's weird because normally they let us see it first. The first time she knew that happened was when she was in the room with all of those people. She had no idea that that's what they had slow mode. They focused. At one point it was just her vagina on screen. That's all it was, right? So
I don't recall that I've ever seen the movie. I don't think I've never seen that.
Oh, really? You should watch it. I look for it on Amazon Prime. You can rent it for $4. So in the film, she's sitting there. She crosses her legs and there's nothing on the screen but her vagina. It's for a millisecond, but it's very clearly, this is what we're doing. Now, remember, this was done in the era of, we didn't all have the technology at our fingertips to freeze frame and to do all the things that people can do now, right? So she sat there, the film was over. She got up, walked over to the director, slapped him in the face, left, and called her attorney. She had no idea. Imagine the embarrassment and the shame of feeling like an idiot because, of course, she's there on film crossing her legs. What are people going to think? Of course she knew, right? So to know more, I would recommend reading the book, but I thought it was fascinating because it's just another example of how people don't really know. Like I had always thought, oh, Sharon Stone, well, clearly she doesn't really respect herself too much because she was willing to do that for that role. And I don't know that it was necessary. In my head, I made up that story, not knowing the manipulation, right? Not knowing the insecurities of being on set where everybody's like, you're not the star. Michael Douglas is a star. Just take off your underwear and cross your legs. What's the big fucking deal? Let's go. And this is what became of it. And then she talks about why it was left in the film. I just thought it was fascinating.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's troubling. But thanks for the tip. Next time I'm out with a lady and I'm getting all the glare off your panties.
Yeah, you've got to take those off.
Take those off just for the glare.
And
Because
see,
when I
if
take
nothing
pictures
else,
of your vagina, I want to be.
I'm so glad I could help you with that. But you know, we never really know the
Oh
backstory.
no, it's crazy the power that's in you know. We're not going to talk about. We're going to talk about this during the set while everybody's here, and I got to perform, or we're going to shut. What are we going to shut down the movie? What are we doing here?
Right. I was on set once where we were doing a scene around a fireplace, and the main character, she had her body painted, she was nude, she was clearly uncomfortable, and she just had to run through the shot. That's all. She was very nervous, you could tell. They had her covered up. Well, she ran through the shot, and the director decided that wasn't good enough. And he said in front of everybody, he goes, that's not going to work. You're going to have to dance around the fire. Now that's very different.
I got hired to run through.
And she started crying, and they had her, she did it, and she was crying, and this was a minor film. And I just thought, you know what? This is exactly what happens when you don't have power, right? Because the
Right.
other,
I heard the same story. Gosh, Antonio Banderas, and who is that gal? I love her. She was just in that movie Bliss.
oh, Selma Hayek.
Selma Hayek was telling a story because she was doing the the Bliss tour, and she was
Okay.
on a podcast,
Yeah.
and she was in a movie with Antonio Banderas.
Okay.
And she used to be huge in Mexico. I mean, a national movie star, and then she gave it all up to come to America, and she worked in movies as the third maid or the second. She very low level parts, and this was the first time she's going to get being in a significant movie. I forget the name of it. It's kind of a famous movie.
Okay.
Where she's dancing, and she ends up having a love-making scene with Antonio Banderas in this movie. Well, that wasn't in the script.
Oh, see, yeah.
She goes, when they saw the chemistry between me and him, the producers wanted to have a sex scene. And she's like, I'm not down for this.
Yeah.
But she ended up doing it. And she goes, I told my dad not to see this movie because I ended up, I've never seen that movie or that part, but I'm familiar with that movie. I forget the name of it, but it's somewhat famous.
I have to look it up. So it's a film with her and Antonio Banderas.
Yeah, and there's a famous director. It's about like a Western. It's a fun movie.
Okay.
And it's funny because the host of the show said, oh my gosh, that was an amazing movie. That scene with Antonio Banderas was sexy and sensual. She goes, I was horrified the entire time.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh God.
Yeah.
How terrible is that?
Yeah. It really is terrible. And so, and I think nowadays, now that more things are coming out and women are stronger and standing up for themselves, hopefully there'll be less of that. And there are more women directors now, which I think that'll alleviate some of that stuff. But again, it goes back to your assumptions and all those things where you don't know. And I feel badly. I never really was a fan of Demi Moore's until I read her book, and I decided she is so strong. She held back. She could have destroyed people, and she didn't. She chose to take the higher road.
Well, you also choose not to destroy people because you'd like to have a career again.
Well, yeah, and I think for her it was a matter of she wanted to live with herself. She needed to feel peace, even though other people were trying to take her down. She needed to feel at peace with her choices, right? So
Del Toro's the director, I think, of that movie. So between Banderas, Del Toro, and Selma Hayek, you'll come up with a movie.
Did she say how Antonio was during the whole thing?
He was a consummate professional.
Well, that's good. I've always heard nice things about him.
So yeah. She was in love with, not in love with him, but she loved the way he was respectful and the whole nine yards. Yeah,
that's really important. Yeah, that's really important because really, I mean, at the end of the day, I've only been in a few films, but the films I've been in, luckily, I've never had that kind of status where anybody asked me to do anything really inappropriate, because I've always had like minor roles. But I've had several friends when I lived in LA that were like, well, they wanted me to take my top off and it's a little more money. And it's not because they loved it. It's because it's a power play and they needed more money. And I think that's the misconception of people watching these films of like, oh, look at they're so slutty. That's not really always the case, in those circumstances. So,
Yeah.
well, that was fun.
That was fun. We got a high note. Can we end this on a high note?
Yes. Let's end it on a high note. Tell me something exciting. You had something about
dollar store. I love the dollar store. Look at this. Where do you get 8 pens for $1?
The dollar store.
That's crazy. If you've never been to the dollar store, you're missing out. I'm buying detergent. I'm buying brooms. I'm buying glassware.
Yep.
It's crazy for $1.
Yes.
I mean, I walked out with a bucket of stuff for $12. I go, this is nuts. You can outfit an apartment at the dollar store.
It really is true. I know I've read, because there's a lot of dollar stores here and definitely when we first moved here, there was one down the road and we took advantage of it because we were buying our detergent and our cleaning supplies. So we were researching, are there things you shouldn't buy at the dollar store? Like, what should you not, just, because we really didn't have any money and we were really struggling. And it said there are certain foods not to buy, which I get that, maybe you don't want to buy your food.
But can you imagine, you can buy food at the dollar store? I mean, you can buy a dozen eggs for $1.
I know, it's true.
You buy waffles for $1.
Well, why do you think most people aren't taking advantage of that? Because I know at the plaza where I used to live, there was a dollar store, and then Publix was in the same plaza, right? And people are going to Publix buying their groceries. And why aren't they going to the dollar store? What is it?
A stigma.
Yeah.
Why don't you go to Walmart? My gosh, my friend Robin texted me the other day because she goes, hey, do you know anybody that can, buy tires? You got a deal on, you got a tire guy? I said, no, but I'm a member at Costco. Let me look it up. So she gave me the tire size and I looked it up. It's like $180 installed per tire. Walmart, same tire, $89.
That's a huge difference.
People don't want to go to Walmart because there's a stigma. They don't want to go to the dollar store. I go,
do you feel like in today's times, there's more of a stigma with Walmart because of their business practices? No. Okay.
My opinion. And what else was I going to say?
That you can take your date to the dollar store. I'm a proponent of the dollar store. I think it's great. I've used the dollar store many times. Yes, sir.
Are you familiar with, do they have 5 and under in your neck of the woods?
I've not. 5 and below, right?
5 below, that's right.
I've not seen them here, but it doesn't mean they're not here. We don't have Walmarts here, though. It's not allowed. There are no Walmarts in New York. There's one in New Jersey.
Really? Well, that's interesting because you're seeing the mainstream, like Montgomery Ward's, JCPenney, Sears, all going in they're done.
Yes.
But these low-end dollar stores, 5 below stores are booming. I mean, the stock market, they're booming.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it might be worth looking into investing. I just know the small amount that I know when I started doing research during the Trump hate era. I started doing
hating Trump or not?
What?
Are we over hating Trump or are we still hating?
I think he's no longer viable enough to hate. I mean, for me, I get much joy out of the news every day because they're saying, I wrote it down about what's going on with him. Because in New York, they're going after him, right? Like they're prosecuting him. It says that he's drowning in criminal investigations and that he's legally screwed. That was actually a title. He's legally screwed. That there's 3,500 legal actions against him and 29 pending lawsuits right now against Donald.
He's going to start his own. Did you hear he's going to start his own social network?
I heard he wanted to.
Yeah, something within a couple of months. Stay tuned. There's supposed to be some sort of big announcement today.
That's hilarious. No, it's hilarious. Go ahead, guys. Show us who you are. I'm all down with that. Show us who you are. So the weekend's over. It's Monday. I'm sure you're going to be surprised that I ask you this, but since we're going to wrap it up, would you like to wrap this up with a sexy tip, Tom?
Sexy tip.
What have you got? What happened over the weekend? Give us a sexy
Okay,
tip.
here's a sexy tip. I stumbled on this YouTube about flirting.
Oh, yes.
And this gal's giving tips about flirting. And here's a tip that I've always been, this is, I'm not going to say it's worked for me, but it's an indicator.
Okay.
She goes, at some point, maybe that's not the first or the second thing, but the third thing you should do as a man.
Yeah.
We'll talk about this next week.
No.
Sexy tip is with the back of your hand while you're explaining something, maybe touch, she said, touch her knee. Like you're talking, you touch her knee, or you touch her hand while you're having a conversation. It has to be a fun conversation, but it establishes touch, not an aggressive touch or grab. It's just like you're making a point and you touch and then you pull back.
So she's saying in the context of flirting, that's a way to flirt. That's a way of
Yes.
letting the woman know you're flirting.
Yes.
Okay. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know.
So if you're at a bar and you're having a drink with a fella and he reaches over and he touches your shoulder, that would be a bad thing.
I don't think it would be a bad thing. I mean, here's the bummer about that, Tom. And it's so unfair, but it's just the way it is. If I was attracted to him, I would welcome it.
All the rules are off. Now, she also says, if the woman you're talking to is turned and closed off and every answer is, yeah, no, not now, blah, 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 do not touch that person. They are not interested in you. But only if the person is open and having a positive conversation, it's a way to advance your flirting, like to show, indicate interest.
Yeah, no, that's very true. I mean, have you ever been on a date with someone and they turn sideways?
Well, we're not saying a date, we're saying meeting somebody at a club or,
okay,
on the street, as it might happen.
Okay, interesting. Are you going to try it? Are you going to try the brush of the hand or the?
I think that I've done it in the past in a positive fashion, and I'm not a criminal trying to, manipulate a situation. I'm a human being trying to make a connection.
Right. I feel like both of us are very physical, right? We touch people. I mean, I feel like I do that without even realizing it.
But think about that on your given day. How many times do you really touch somebody on a given day? It's really probably a very small number. I mean, I could go days without touching somebody.
No, you're right. I guess I was thinking more in social situations, but you're right. When I was out working, it's not like I was grabbing people or touching people at the airport.
Who are you touching now? If you're not touching your daughter or the big guy, right? I mean, you don't you don't go shopping and touch strangers. Everybody, it's interesting. Everybody stays in their own little space. And if somebody touches you, hey, whoa,
that is very true.
You don't get touched. You don't get touched on a regular basis.
I guess I didn't think of it that way. That's very true. Interesting.
Yeah. Now, with our friends, it's another thing, but
yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to keep that in mind the next time I go out in the world. If someone does the brush of the hand, I'll be like, he likes me.
Well, it would be something, I think, if it would happen when you were doing it, it would have to be natural. But at some point, I mean, what are we doing here? I mean, if I'm flirting, I want to see if you're interested. If you're not interested, I'm moving on. I think you're interested. I'm going to do this. Ow! Grab you, put you in the back of the car.
No, you're right. I think we do flirt in different ways, but that's an interesting way. I guess I hadn't considered it. But of course, if you're interested and someone lightly touches your hand, of course, that would be lovely and welcome because it's an indication that we're trying to go to another level. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Okay.
Let's get it on. And the Beatles will take us out. Okay. I wish I had an album.
The Beatles. You know what? You guys, before you know it, we are going to have music. I don't care what anybody says. We are going to have some tunes. And especially now that I know that Patrick is such a good guitar player, you guys need to rock it out.
Yeah. All right. So
okay.
That's another one. Huh?
I was just going to say, I'm Melinda McKinsey.
I'm Tom Wise. Did we start the show like this or did we not start the show?
Remember.
I don't think so. I screwed up. I started bitching about something or talking about how I just came out of the pool. Look at me. Let's just start the show with Look at Me.
Okay. We'll try that on Wednesday.
Do we have any guests coming up?
Working on it. Hopefully, yes.
I'm working on a couple of guests myself.
And we do have Henry Penix at the end of the month. Very excited. He is a very interesting business guy.
On the
He's a
31st.
business fighter, and he's going to be on the 31st.
Okay, this is the longest landing we've ever had.
Okay, and we're done.
Put a fork in us, we're done. That's another one in the can. Enjoy your day.